Let's see. Okay, welcome everybody. This is the beginning of the 5th parak. I didn't prepare so much. I had limited time to prepare, so whatever, as much as it goes. But we're learning it together. Shutvin shenadru himno zemizeh. Two shutvin that each one made a neder is not going to benefit. I'm sorry. If I could just go back to yesterday's Gemara for a second, it was a complicated Gemara. Just what came out of it seems pretty simple. It was only done about when someone to make something hefker, if it leaves this rishus right away, or that it's just on hold until somebody takes, but it's still mine. And the whole question was trying to Rabbi Yossi, but the Rabbanan surely hold that it leaves this rishus right away. And that's what we pass on. We pass on like Rabbanan, that it leaves this rishus right away. So that's pretty simple. The only question was about Rabbi Yossi. And the other issue was the land of the Gemara that also was very short and pretty simple. That how many people do you need in order to make something hefker? And there was a Yochanan that said that you need 3. There was a question in the Rishon if that means that 2, maybe by 2, the Rabbanan also, there might be an issue of Rabbanan Rabbi Yossi that over there, maybe it doesn't leave you just right away. But we pass like a Bishul and Levi that Minatorah, hefker is even by one person, even in front of one person. They did say Lachatchili should have 3. They're supposed to be down Lachatchili should have 3 to do hefker, but if not, then even 1 is good enough. And the rubbing is down that somehow that doesn't even mean 1. It can even be by yourself, even if you're alone. Also, and that's why it's in Shulchan Aruch. Yesterday we finished with the Shulchan Aruch. So even though it's complicated sugya, but that's what comes out as far as the halacha l'maisa. It's pretty. I think it's pretty straightforward. It does. We also mentioned about meiser that there's ramifications about meiser that if it was hefker, so it could be pater and meiser. That's when we get to Hilchos Meiser, we'll be able to know more about that. But as far as Dinei hefker go, Dinei hefker is 3 simanim in Shulchan Aruch, and I think that even though it's complicated, it's still good to get out the halacha.
A lot easier than yesterday.
Here you have 2 shutfin. Till now we didn't have a case of shutfin. We had that one person became Masar, another person moving became Masar and Shimon, or Shimon. But here they're shutfin. They're partners in a chatzar, and a business and a chatzar. So now we're talking about coming into the chatzar. They're allowed to come into the chatzar. They have a joint chatzar, and each one's not allowed to benefit from the other one. Is that called a benefiting from the other one? Because part of the chatzar is his. We'll soon talk about one person, one of the shutfim that's asr. That'll be the next case. The first case is that both of them are asr on each other. 2 shutfim in the chatzar. You can have 2 neighbors that have houses and they have a joint chatzar. That's in a regular case of shutfim. They're joint partners in the chatzar, in the courtyard that both of them open up into, and they both became asr to benefit from the other. So Tanakh says that's only kanas l'chatzar. So neither one is allowed to go into the chatzar because you're benefiting from your partner, and you're not allowed to benefit from him. And the other one also, he's not allowed to benefit from you. So both of them can't go into the chatzar. Then we're trying to talk about the whole thing of going into the chatzar, how it's risas haregel, and we spoke about if risas haregel is something that's asr. So we had the whole parak. We had that our Masechta holds that either asr b'mudrana, that even something which usually people people usually forego, no problem, you can come in. But by mudrana it is asr. So our mission is really simple, that it continues that vitur is asr b'mudrana. We should say that it could be by a chatzar. Everybody holds that by field, it might be people don't mind going into the field, but it could be in a chatzar. The people are makbid that people shouldn't come into the chatzar. So it could be, it's not dependent on that machlokis. It could be, even though there's machlokis of vitur is asr. Vitur means something that usually people forego, but maybe by people that make a neder, they become more makbid on each other. And even though if everybody else have would let, but you are on that. But so you could learn that our mission goes like that, because anyway our mission goes like that in the previous paruchim. But it could be that a chatzar, everybody holds that you're makbid on the chatzar. You don't like strangers coming into your chatzar. You come home and you see somebody walking through your chatzar, you say, what are you doing? So it doesn't have to be dependent on that machlokes. So since you're not allowed to benefit, Reuben's not allowed to benefit from Shimon, Shimon can benefit from Reuben. If they have a joint chatzar, no one will be allowed to go into the chatzar. No, neither of them will allowed to go into the chatzar because each one is benefiting from their partner. But let's
They couldn't even let anybody else go.
Why not? Why can anybody else come in? Everybody else is not benefiting from it. They're not us the benefit. Reuben's not allowed to benefit from him. Shimon can benefit from Reuben. So why can't the stranger come in? The stranger doesn't have any essence of benefit. He's benefiting from Reuben and Shimon. It is going to talk about soon if the outsider is not allowed to benefit from one of them. That'll be a case the mission is going to talk about. That Reuben some outsiders, not a lot of benefit from one of these neighbors, one of these courtyard owners. So then he can't come in because he's benefiting from one of the shutfim. That's what we're going to talk about. So far, the case was that two shutfim that are not a benefit from each other, so neither of them would be allowed to come into the chutzner because they're benefiting from each other. No, they are allowed to. Both of them are allowed to go into the chutzner because each one says, "I'm going into mine." Each one is a shutf, each one is a half owner. So they say that you're going into yours, and you're going into yours. This the law that doesn't say yet the lumdus, why should it be? It talks about the brera. Brera usually means that even though you're shutfin, everyone owns everything, but since we're half and half partners, so it could be that we could theoretically divide it in half and say this has been mine the whole time. So until we divided, so then it was like how would you say that everyone has everything, and every time you take a step in, you're stepping on both properties. But you could say that I'm now saying this is my property. This is the one that I meant the whole time. But here it's more than that because it's not, you walk around the chutzner means, and then he's going to walk on the same steps. It's not going to be that this step, you make the footprints over there. Let's say I have the footprints. So the first one takes a walk. So he says, all the footprints, that was mine. But then the other one walks in, his footprints are also going to overlap. He's not going to go, I'm not going to go on your footprint. So it's a different kind of a brera. It means whenever I'm going in mine. Not right now. Right now, this is mine. The Ran says it's a long run here. I didn't go through the whole thing. There's a big question about this brera. We'll get to it a little bit later. But in general, the end of the Gemara is going to be two pasuk of Lezer ben Yaakov. This is going to be the end of the day today, or almost the end of the day. Is going to be with pasuk of Lezer ben Yaakov. And the big question is that we hold ein brera. In other sugyas, we hold ein brera. By the Raisa ein brera, by the Rabbanan yesh brera. This is a question by yes the Raisa because the neder, if someone made a neder, so he's also with the Raisa. So according to the regular laws of brera, we should say that Rabbanan are right, that you can't decide later on what you meant yesterday. So you made a shutfis and both of them own both of them. You can't say that this is mine and this was always mine. So the Ran says a very interesting thing. It's more than I'm going to say, more than I know. But the way you look at it now is that just like space could be divided. This is my space. This is your space. So also, I guess everything. There's probably more the formula of saying that everything also has time. Einstein says something like that. That besides having 3 dimensions, there's a dimension of time. Mm-hmm. So when we make a shutfis, it could be that you could divide something to say that Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday is mine.
Time sharing.
What?
Time
sharing. There's also such a thing. So
I
who
get
owns
it
it?
this month, you get it next month.
Mamash. So there's such a thing as to shutfin in the time also. They were regular shutfin. They're simple shutfin. They're not so complicated. Simple shutfin. But it could say that the shutfis is going to be that whenever I use it, it's mine. Whenever you use it, it's yours. And it could be these footsteps. It's true. You can't say that this footstep, you can't say it's always been mine because then the other guy wouldn't be allowed to go on those footsteps. But you could say that the time that I use it, it's mine. And then afterwards, it's your time. So even though they never made this calculation, when it's going to be mine, when it's going to be yours, that's also kind of a brera. And it could be that that's why the brera is different than the standard brera, because here it keeps on fluctuating. And they know they made it's as if they made up already lachatchila that we're going to divide it according to whenever anybody needs it is his. You could do that if they would make lachatchila that the way our shutfis is going to work is when instead of saying January, February, or Sunday, Monday, whenever you use it, it's yours. Whenever I use it, it's mine. That could be also. They could have made such a contract.
Yeah.
That's the shutfis. The shutfis in time is whenever
brera
means that we decide.
Why not just using it was mine? It's always retroactive.
No, so we have to see here. We're saying that it's not retroactive. Can I make now? That's in the case of months. So we make a shutfis, and right away we say that Teves is yours. From the beginning, Teves is yours. If you have to be in London, right? On place you say that this is yours. From the beginning, this has been yours. But now you talk about time. So we also could say that from the beginning, Teves is yours. Shvat is mine. Adar is yours. From the beginning. Could you do that? Because look at time as a place. If you it means that there's a constant. Well, as a unit, as a reality. Time is a reality. And right now, I'm giving you your chelik is teves and adar, and mine is going to be whatever adar and it is Shvat and
And
Nisan.
it's only starting after they made the net.
Here the chiddush is that you do it that you say lachatchila. This is what they meant.
Uh-huh.
When they shutfin, they were simple Jews. They made it shutfin, but now they made a what? What were they?
They were getting along.
They're getting along well. Now,
12 months.
and everyone was thing was fine. They were shutfin, everything was fine. Now they made I'm usher from you, you're usher from me. So Lesbian Yaakov says, but you still allowed to walk. Each one could walk in the chutzner because that is brera. That's a kind of a brera, but they say it's an easier brera than the regular brera. And here, because he says the point is because most of the information has already been clarified from the beginning. That whenever you use it, it's yours. Whenever I use it, it's mine. And just when am I going to use it? When are you going to use it? That's already we'll decide later. That's the part that's going to be decided later.
Yeah, that's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov.
Right. That's why he says that it's mutter. Each one goes. Whenever each one's going, he's going into his own. So therefore, they're allowed to use the chutzner. I just said the run. What I said now is not in the Gemara. The Gemara is just going to say a person like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and I'm trying to explain some kind of explanation what they're arguing about. And they say it has to do with yesh beira, ain beira. You say this concept of beira, and we pass like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, which over here is saying yesh beira, that you could decide later what was mine, what's yours. And the question is, you pass by the right side, ain beira. So the Ran says that the lumdus here is a little bit easier of a beira. That there's a concept of time also that you could say that this time is mine, this time is yours, and we say that the shutfis lachatchila meant that, and the only thing that has to be in this bar is only when are you going to use it, when am I going to use it? That's already small change already. That's already a small.
Without Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov, I would have said that with both of us all the time. Why do you say that it's yours when you use it and mine when I use it? Both of us all the time.
So that's that. Then it would say that. Then it will be us. That will be the Tanakh.
Yeah, in there no way of looking at shutfas.
It could be. Are we saying that lachatchila this was already what they said, what they meant? The Rabbanan, the Ran explains, is that since it's changing back and forth, they're not going to say such a kind of a prayer. It has to be this was mine from the beginning, this was in the space. And I'm looking at the
Each one is when they have problems with the Jew with the with being open on Shabbos, and he sells it to his work with the guy. So the guy only has Shabbos, and then he has to.
But
so there is a
that's only if you say something without saying something. We have a business together without saying.
If the case would be that when they made the shutfis, they didn't have all the slum list. They just said we're making a shutfis. So is that afterwards? So is that going now? Are we saying back from the beginning? That's what they meant. So it could be after I just read it superficially.
No, that's what that about yeshivas. It's the chalukul zman. But to me, it's a chiddush.
Is that what they meant? The question is
to be together. No.
So yeah, even if they meant together in the beginning, now that they're saying that the chatchila this was a way, is that worse than a regular bird? Maybe you have to look more closer into the run. So that's the machlokes. If they could walk into each other's into the chatzar hamishutefet, into the joint chatzar. Tanna Kamma says no, both of them cannot. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says both of them can. And what the explanation is, the Gemara doesn't say really. The Gemara doesn't say what the explanation is, and the Rishonim say it has to do with Breira. I don't think the Gemara is going to say. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, what is the Tanna Kamma think is going to happen? They can't use it.
Neither of them can use
it.
it. So then they're going to have to either be matan there, or they're going to have to sell it, whatever, and right now it's not usable. And they're both in their houses, and they can't go through the chutzah to get out. And
just sit there.
Yeah, that's what people
like
do.
that hotel.
When they,
just let it sit there.
Yeah, that hotel. That's right.
So I think they'd have to sell it and split the money, or they would have to.
Because they can't just say they can't.
They can't say you can't walk into the chutzah.
Go into the Hatzer for me, because that's
who should go into the chutzah for me?
A shliach.
Somebody else should come in. So
they can't tell them to, because
then I'm telling you to take something from the Shimon for me. But everybody holds, even Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov agrees that they're not allowed to, both of them cannot put into this chatzah hamshutefet. They can't put a mill, an oven, and to raise chickens. So what's the difference? If you say
both of them
may not use the chatzah for these kind of more permanent kind of uses, like putting something down on the chatzah, whatever the example would be, a mill, an oven, and to raise chickens over there running around. So what's the difference? How come you don't say the same lumdus? Whatever you say by people's footsteps, why also you don't say by the place of the oven or the place of the chicken's feet? What's the difference? How come here it's also?
Because I thought we were talking about the time.
Yes, so we said it's mutter. But Yaakov said it's mutter by people. So why is it also? Here he's agreeing to the Tanna Kamma.
He's agreeing.
Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is agreeing, even though he said before.
Because then it was like when you use it, but here if you put something permanent, you'll never be able to use it.
As long as I'm using it, so it's mine. As long as it's there, as long as the refrigerator is there, as long as the oven is over there, so it's mine.
No, I thought it
What's
was
the difference?
one, it was there's A and B, so A owns,
Yes. And the
so as long-
chutzner, it's in the chutzner, that's the shutfis. The chutzner is a chutzner shutfis. I'm allowed to walk. Why am I allowed to walk? Because each footstep that I take, that time is designated for me.
okay, that's good, but that's your walking, is you're not.
And my oven, as long as my
Your
oven
oven's
is
gonna
there.
be sitting there forever.
I mean, as long as it's there. Let's say, I don't know, as long as it's there.
And
so-
now the other guy, B, comes and he
He
wants to put his up in there, what, he's supposed to kick it out? What?
And what does
The oven
Shitfin,
is there.
what does Shitfin do when, yes, okay, so now I'm using it and you put your oven someplace else. And I won't go and, I have a right to put an oven, you have a right to put an oven. So I'll put an oven in my spot, wherever I put it, and that's the time, the place and the time that I'm using. And your oven or whatever you want to do, put chickens around and whatever, each footstep with a chicken, like what's the problem? It needs explanation why here is over Lesbian Yaakov agree, that is us. So the Rosh says, maybe everybody says I didn't have, but that here is something else that shutfim are not allowed to put an oven in the chatzar shutefet. Forget about asirana. This is the kind of a thing you have to ask permission from the shutef. Walking in the chatzar, you don't have to ask permission. That's what shutfis is. You're both allowed to use the chatzar. But to put something of permanence, like an oven, a mill, and chickens running around, you're not allowed to do it. Even though you have to give permission, each one has to give permission. Even it's not enough to say that this is your part. Even this is your part, you still need my permission. So I'm giving Hannah, I'm giving Hannah the fact that I'm allowing you to do it. By walking, it just has to be that this is mine. I don't need your permission to walk in the Chatzam Shutefes. It just has to be that I'm not stepping on your property. So that you say that there's a however you're going to explain it, that's enough to say that it's I'm not walking on your property. But to put an oven, even if it's your property, you have to have permission from me. So therefore, Lesbian would agree
Here,
that
excuse me, and the partner giving permission then would be.
you're benefiting.
enough.
Yeah, right. And that's why Lesbian agrees that it's us over here. That's how the Rush explains why an
It has
oven is
nothing to do with
different.
the netter.
It has to do with the nether. No.
Oh, it has to do with the netter because.
Therefore, you
need
can't get permission,
Oh,
right? If it otherwise, if it would be regular good terms, so then I have to ask permission. Fine, you give me permission, it's good. But here, I can't accept your permission because you're benefiting me by allowing me to put it even on mine. Usually the issue only by stepping, is it yours or is it mine? But here, even if it's yours, you still have to have my permission. So I'm benefiting by I'm benefiting from you by allowing you to do something which you need my permission for. So till now the case was about both of them wasn't from each other. Both of them made a nether. I won't benefit from you, and I won't benefit from you. So we spoke about both of them being usher. How about if it will be one-sided? It should be the same thing. Only one of the shutfim was usher. They're shutfim, they're two partners, and one of them, Ruvain, made a nether. I'm not going to benefit from Shimon. So same machlokes. Tanakama is going to say because you're benefiting from the partner that you're going on trespassing on his property. That I'm going into mine. Same the same machlokes as before. The Mishnah talk about why did the Mishnah have to say two cases? So who is it the chiddush? After you have the first case, it's a half a case. It's the same case. That's before it was on both. That both of them were not allowed to. The machlokes was Tanakama. Both of them are not allowed to go in because both of them are not allowed to benefit. And Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says both of them could go in because both of them, we say brera, whatever we're going to say, and both of them could go in. And here it's a one-sided case that only one of them made. That's a different scenario. One of them made the nether, the other one didn't make the nether. So the one who didn't make the nether, he's fine. The one who made the nether is not in machlokes. He's allowed to walk into the chutzner. Tanakama says no, but Elazar ben Yaakov says yes. So there's no real. So far, there's no chiddush in what the Mishnah gave it say half a case.
And Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is saying that it's the guy who made the netter that says, "I'll go in mine." The one who made the netter, what did he made the netter that what? He won't get enough from his friend, right?
Yes.
So he's the one that, according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who says, "I'm going to be entering into mine,
Yes.
and I won't enter into yours."
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
But here, I just put this in parentheses for a second of Elazar ben Yaakov because the rest of the Mishnah, the rest of the line is going to Rabbanan. The Kofin is no, the Limkor Eschalko. The person who made the nether not to benefit, we force him to sell out his share in the chutzner. What happened? Again, two shutfim, and one of them made a nether. I'm not going to benefit Reuven made a neder not going to benefit from Shimon. Reuven is not allowed to go into the chutzner. So he starts telling Reuven, you're not allowed to go into the chutzner. We tell him you have to sell out your portion in the chutzner. Why? What I do wrong? So they're scared. The Chachamim, the Rabbanan, the Mishnah is scared that he's going to walk, since Shimon is walking around in the chutzner, and I'm also a shutter. I made the neder, I messed it up, but that caused the problem. The fact that he's allowed to walk in the chutzner and you're not allowed to, you might get an urge also to walk in the chutzner, and therefore we don't allow it because it's going to be a michshel over here. In the first case, that's not what Rishonim explained. In the first case, both of them are usher, so there's no chash one that they're going to transgress. Why should they transgress if they made a neder? They made a neder. But here, only one of them made a neder. So then, since he sees a shuttif walking around, he's also going to walk around, and that's going to be a michshel. So
this is the rabbis, right?
Right. It means according to Yaakov, he's allowed to walk, so there's no problem. But according to Rabbanan, they say he's not allowed to walk. Here, we even machmir that he should sell out. He should sell out his share because we're scared to leave such a situation where he's going to be, where he's going to be walking, where he's going to be usher to walk. His partner is walking around, and he's not walking around. So that's the reason that Rabbanan say we force him to sell out. A regular case, we're not choshesh. A person made a neder, he's not going to benefit from his own property. So there's no reason why he should have the urge to transgress his neder. Or in a case of both of them made a neder, also there's no reason to think that he's going to transgress the neder. Both of them are not walking. But here, that only one made a neder, even though it's his own fault. You made the, who told you to make a neder? But if you made a neder and the shuttif is walking around, she's also going to walk around, and therefore we tell him you can't remain in such a situation. So sell out your portion. Oh, of course, be mata neder. If you can be mata neder, it's fine. But if you want to remain in the situation that you're not allowed to walk, and the partner is allowed to walk, we're not going to allow that. If that's good, we go on to the next case. This was Moshe started before a similar case. There's Reuven and Shimon, and their partnership, everything's good. But there's an outsider, an outsider, that he is usher. He made an ed, he's not going to benefit from one of them, whatever, from moving. So,
one of the shutfim?
But one knows, Echad min Ashuk was Mudrana from one of the shutfim. Yeah, but one of the one who's the shuk is not a shutfim over here.
No,
right.
He
made an ed, I'm not going to benefit from moving, and he wants to go into his joint. He wants to go into Reuven and Shimon's joint courtyard, so he can't because he's benefiting from moving. Again, Rabbi Lezer Yaakov is going to say it's mutter. The outsider can't come into the chatzir because he's benefiting from the shuttif that he's not allowed to benefit from. But Rabbi Lezer Yaakov, I'm not going into yours. The same one is 3 times. But here is outsider, and the outsider also can say, I'm only going into the other partners. I'm not going into yours. That also could be part of the breira that when someone's going to come in, he's always going to be coming into the other partners, the one that's mutter, not the one that's asa, which may be a bigger chiddush in the breira that even matter it for an outsider. Okay, that's really the end of that series of mishnahs, and now starts a new mishnah. Somebody is not allowed to benefit. Reuven is not allowed to benefit from Shimon, and Shimon owns a merchatz. Shimon owns a bathhouse. He owns a oil press. So is Reuven allowed to use it? It's really not. You're benefiting from Shimon. You're not allowed to benefit from him. But the case here was muskar, means that Shimon rented it out. He leased it out. There's somebody else who's in charge. It's his. The building belongs to him, but he rented it out. So right now, if someone's gonna want to use this bathhouse, he's only benefiting. He's benefiting from the one who leased it, not from the owner. So the mission says it depends. If the original owner, not the original, the owner, if the owner has a handle, he has a handle, means that he has some kind of rights still in the merchatz. If he leased it out and ain't no tfisas yad, he has no rights. When you leased it out, the one who leased it has full rights, and the owner can't do anything over there. So then you're right that it belongs now to, for all practical purposes, it belongs to the one who leased it. And Mudirano is allowed to come in because Reuven is not coming into Shimon's merchatz. He's coming into Levi's merchatz. Levi leased it from Shimon.
He just gets money.
Right.
When he doesn't have tfisas, yeah.
Right. So he gets paid from Levi. Levi will pay Shimon.
No say how they.
Right. There's no rights over there. So then it's only between Levi is the owner for all practical purposes, and Shimon and Levi, they have their business. But Reuven's coming into the base of merchatz. He's coming to the merchatz of Levi. He's not coming to the merchatz. But if he has a tfisas yad, if Shimon, the owner of the merchatz, has some kind of rights. The Gemara is going to talk about what kind of rights. If he has, let's say, a say in the matter, he has a right to put things over there. He has a right to say. So then it's going to talk about how much of a chelik he has. So then it's still considered Shimon's. It's still considered his, even though he leased it out. He still has rights over there, and therefore, when Reuben's going to come in, he's coming into Shimon's merachas, and you're not allowed to benefit from him. No Mishnah. This Mishnah we had already before. It says on the side, Mem Beis and Beis. Not so long ago, we quoted this Mishnah. Or konim sadcha shani lokeach. What's the halacha meso shemochro la'acher mutter? Someone made a neder that I'm not going to. Ashani nichnas. I'm konim means I'm making it also like hektish, your house that I'm not going to come into. I'm making your house hektish in a way for you. That for me, I'm not going to come into your house. But the point is that he said lebeischa to your house. I'm answering in our short language. I'm answering your house on me, or I'm answering your field on me to buy. Sadcha shani lokeach. Konam l'sadcha shani lokeach. I'm making your field konam like hektish. That if I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to buy your field. It's also for me to buy your field. A kid said he made a neder. I'm going to answer your house. I'm going to answer your sadeh. So what's the lacha after that person died? So Reuben said to Shimon, I'm not going to benefit from your house. I'm not going to benefit from your field. But Shimon died. It's not anymore Reuben. It's not anymore Shimon's house. It's not anymore Shimon's field. So it's mutter. But then Reuben's allowed to go. He's only allowed to go into it or buy it only as long as it belongs to Shimon. That's what he said. I'm not going to come into your house as long as it's your house. But once he died, or machol acher, that Shimon sold it to Levi, so now it is permissible for Reuben to go in there to buy it because the neder was beischa, sadcha, your house, your field. But in contrast, konim bai zeh shani nechnas or sadazu shani lokeach, he didn't say beischa, sadcha. He said bai zeh sadazu, this house, this field. So then it's considered this house, this field, even after the owner dies. Even after the owner, Shimon, is going to die or sell to somebody else, or sell to Levi, still Reuben wouldn't be able to go in or buy it because he made the neder on the house, not on your house. Okay, good. The beginning of the Mishnah, back to the beginning, what did it say? Each the two partners that made a neder to be aser and ana from each other. So the way the Mishnah talks about is that each one made the neder on himself. Reuben said, I'm not going to benefit. I asked myself to benefit from you. And Shimon said, I asked myself. Each one made a neder on himself. How about is we know from a past experience, there's a way to ask your object on somebody else also. I can ask myself to benefit from you. I can ask
my portion
you
of the chatzir on you.
On you, right? I don't allow you my house, my chatzir is hektish on you. So the Mishnah doesn't say that case. The Mishnah says, "No, you know." What would be the halacha if each one answered the other one? That's the most question. The nadru pligi. The case of the Mishnah is by nadru. Each one made a neder, but he divu. What if each one made a neder on the other one? How do you do that? That I say that I'm answering my property on you. It's pretty much it's a little bit redundant. There might be a change in the gears over here, but it says it more or less over again. Each person in the case of the Mishnah that each one made a neder, he did it to himself. He did it to himself. He asked it himself. So then we say you're not allowed to go into the chatzir. But when each one asked the other one, maybe we're not going to make this issa. Means it could be that the Rabbanan also agreed to the alumnus of Elazar ben Yaakov. They also agree bikaron. In principle, they also would agree that there's room to be mater, this whole case of going into the chatzir, because we said that you're going into yours, you're going into his. At the time, whenever you use it, that time is dedicated to you, designated for you. Whenever he uses it, it's designated to him. It means that Elazar ben Yaakov's farah is not that Rabban don't hold of it at all. They also might hold of it, but if you made it, it's just kind of a knot. We're going to penalize you that you're not allowed to go in. We're not going to rely on the Iker Din, which would be of Elazar ben Yaakov. Is the reason why the Rabbanan only answered because he did it to himself. But if each one did it to the other one, the Rabbanan agreed to Elazar ben Yaakov that's not their fault, anusim, and we're not going to make any kind of a knas. Means the Gemara is looking at it that the Elazar ben Yaakov really makes sense. And the Rabbanan could agree to it in principle. They just made a knas over here because you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't ask yourself. But Odilma, if he will be maybe the Rabbanan say even if it wasn't your fault, but also it's us, and they don't hold it for Elazar ben Yaakov's heta. Each one's going into his own. So the Gemara thinks that it's arrived from the Mishnah Tashma, the word, the case, the next case of the Mishnah, that was over here on top of the page, that only one of them was Asr. The first case, Nadruzem and Nazemizeh. The Gemara thinks that the word, the Gemara thinks that it means that how do you become a Mudir Hanam Mechavero, that the other one Asr you. This case we're talking about that Reuben is Asr from Shimon because Shimon Asr him. The Gemara thinks that these words, that's what the words mean. The Yechad Mehem Mudir Hanam means that the other one made you Mudir Hanam. The Reuben became Mudir from Shimon. That means that Shimon is the one who answered Reuben. And if that's the case, though, it says even in that case also says you're not allowed to go into the Chatzar. Tashma says in the Mishnah, Mudir Hanam Mechavero, and it says the Rabbanan say you're not allowed that he's not allowed to go in, even though he didn't do it. So the Gemara says you're right. The way that it says it, Mudir Hanam, you're right. That would have been approved. But the Gemara doesn't think that it's so definite that that's the way to say it. Maybe the Mishnah was misquoted. Tani, Nadur Mechavero Hanam. The Rabbanan say that it's Asr, even though he didn't make the nether. The friend answered him. The Shimon answered him. Not that Reuben made the Isser on himself. The Gemara says that maybe the word should be changed. It means it's not a proof because we're not so sure that the Mishnah was quoted correctly. It does say Mudir Hana Mechaveru, but it might really supposed to be Nadur Mechaveru Hana, which would mean that he answered himself. It means you're right. The way the word says Mudir Hana would imply that Reuben was forced because Shimon is the one who answered his property on Reuben. But we're not sure that the word Mudir was quoted precisely. Maybe it should have really been Nadur. Nadur means that, which means that he made the nether on himself. He made that Reuben made the nether on himself. That's the case that it's Sasa, but if it would have been forced into it, that the opponent, the neighbor, the other shut, if he's the one who answered, maybe there'd be no Isser because everyone also agree to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov's forward. They just would bring Machmir if you cause the problem. But if the other friend caused the problem, we're not going to answer you. Okay, now the Gemara is going to even back it up that there really should be the case of Nadur, not Mudar. That each person is only answer if he did it by himself, not if the shuttif, if the partner did it to him. The Ktani Sefer of the Kofinis and the Lim Kras Koko. The rest of the Mishnah. The Mishnah said in this case, where one of them is Aser, according to Rabbanan, we said that we forced the one who made the neder to sell out his chayla because he's a mikshah. We don't want to leave a situation where one of them is mutter to walk, one of them is Aser to walk. The one who's Aser to walk is going to also get jealous. The other one, my shuttif, is walking around. He's also going to walk around. So we forced him to sell out. So it can't be that Reuven was answered by Shimon. He didn't do anything wrong. We're surely not going to force him to sell out if he didn't do anything. If Reuven made a nether out of himself to be Yasser, and it's a dangerous nether because you might be walking around while the other one is, and because you see the other one walking, you're also going to walk. So you put yourself into a dangerous situation, we're going to force you to sell out. But if the case was that Shimon answered Reuven, then it can't be we're going to force Reuven to sell out. The Rosh even puts in a powerful point that if so, then every person is shut if he's going to get rid of his partner by answering him on mine, and then we're going to force that he should have to sell out. Every partner can get rid of his partner. Can't be. So therefore, it must be that the case is he made a nether on himself. What does it say? It says Kofin has a note of Limkar Schalko, that's the Mishnah. Yam Bishlama, the nether who, if he's the one who made the nether, so we make sense. We force him to sell out. Put a mishal to yourself. Hinder the Kani Kofin. That's why it says we force him to sell out. Eliyamrit. The odd way, if the case is that the other shuttif answered him, Shimon answered Reuven to benefit from Shimon. Amai Kofin also. How could you force Reuven to sell out? Amen is honest. He's an owner, so he didn't do anything wrong. So it must be that the Mishnah doesn't mean Mudar, it means Nadur. So you don't. So it comes out the horror that the Gemara didn't answer the first question. The question was, Idi was Zemai to the Rabbanan Aser, even over there that it's not your fault. In the case of both shutfim, over there the Gemara said seems that we don't know. The second case. By one person being Aser, the other Gemara proves that the Mishnah must be talking about that he made the nether on himself, because at a sefer where it says Kofin is a Kofin. So the Gemara left as a question. I think the Gemara is still leaving as a question. What will be the halacha if he was forced? Mamadiro, would it also be Aser to benefit? Or do you rely on Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov's father?
The last words there are force.
Right, like honest, right, Renaissance. Nu Gemara, Amar Rabba, Amar Zeiri. Machlokes This chutzner, how big is it? Is it big enough to divide, and that each one will have a significant portion? And the Baba Basra talks about how big there's something two shutfin. If they want to divide, there's something called yesh b'kadei chalukah, ein b'kadei chalukah. Yesh b'kadei chalukah means it's big enough to divide, and each one will have a significant portion for himself. Ein b'kadei chalukah means that it's so small that you can't divide it. It's not divisible because each one half of this field is not significant enough to use. So, what is the case where we say that this is machlokis? It says yesh b'kadei chalukah, abel ein b'kadei chalukah divi akol muter. If means if it's possible to divide, so then there's so sell it out. You'll be usher, you're usher to walk in, to use it the way it is now, and sell out. But selling it, but so not sell out, divide it. You get half, you get half. So here it says that when it's yesh b'kadei chalukah, there's more reason to say that it's usher because you can divide it. Till now you were shutfim, you had a chutzah. Let's say a case that we said might be a practical case that there are two houses in a chutzah, and both of them are partners in the chutzah. And then they asked it on each other. They want to say they're not allowed to walk over there. It could be. They only meant that when it's yesh b'kadei chalukah, divided. The way it is now, both of you own the whole thing and you asked each other, no one's allowed to walk. So divide it in half. You take this dollar amas, you take that dollar amas, and you'll be mutter. We have what to do. We have an eitzah how to get out of the problem. Each one should take half. This is the north side is yours, the south side is yours. But if it's so small that if they can't divide it, so then everyone. What?
You're saying dollar amas midafka.
Isn't that the case? Yeah. That's called kedei chalukah. How much is kedei chalukah? Dollar by dollar amas. That's considered a significant chutzah. That's like 2 by 2 meters. Not a big chutzah, but 2 by 2 meters is considered usable.
Enough to divide.
Right. If each one can get, it was 4 by 2. Each one will get 2 by 2 meters. So what I say? Yeah, I'm saying that amos. That's translating into meters. You had 8 by 4 amos, and I divided into 2 blocks of 4 by 4. That's amos. That's considered a significant amount, and we could divide it. But and there one and say so, it's usher to benefit jointly. They're not going to rely on the Elazar ben Yaakov's svara. But if it's so, because you can divide it. But if it's so small that you can't divide, the whole thing is 7 by 4. If you're going to divide it, it's going to be less than 4 by 4, so it's not divisible. So then maybe they're going to agree to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov's svara that they're mutter to use it as is. That's how Rabbi Zera.
Excuse me. Does mutter mean
to walk? Mutter to walk. Both of them could walk.
Did the netter work?
What?
Did the netter work?
Yeah, yes, but we said Elazar ben Yaakov says this as far as say that it's mutter. But Elazar ben Yaakov said that even though they both also to be benefit from each other, walking in the chutzah is not considered trespassing because each one is going into a zone. Like we said, that there are time slots, and this time slot is mine. Time that Elazar ben Yaakov said a reason why it's mutter. The Rabbanan said no, it's asim. The Gemara has studied to say that the Rabbanan also agree inherently to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov is what to rely on. His far is not like out of the window. It makes sense what he said, but we're going to be machmir, maybe if possible. Like the Gemara said a second ago, if it's not his fault, maybe they're also going to agree to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. The Gemara is saying that maybe ein b'kadei chalukah, that you can't divide it. So they're also going to agree that Rabbanan will agree to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov
that even though he made a netter,
and they're not allowed to benefit from each other, they can walk in the chutzah because you have Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov's far. That each one is going into his own. Each one's walking in his own footsteps. As he walks, he's going into his own. He's not trespassing on the other one.
is it because it's not big enough to divide?
Yes, but that's not it's not the reason why it's mutter. Why is it mutter? There's no ways of dividing. You can't
We
divide.
just agree to Rabbi Elazar.
Right, they'll agree to him because his forum makes sense. We're not going to rely on it if not necessary. If it's not necessary, if it's not so important, it's not so urgent, divide it. Till now you had the joint chutzah, now you'll have 2 chutzeros. Each one will have a smaller chutzah. So then we're not going to rely on Elazar ben Yaakov's forum. But if you can't divide it, you're going to have to sell the whole thing and divide the money. That's already too much. And everyone will agree to Elazar ben Yaakov. So that's who said this? Rabba Amaziri. But the Gemara said it can't be. Amalei Rav Yosef, who, I guess, Rabba, that it can't be. Our basic Knesset, the Kamisha, Ein Bokadeh Chalukah Dami, Utanan, Shnei Asurin, the Dava Shalosh Hayir. There's a mission coming up, a page ahead. It's going to say about people that are not allowed to benefit. They made a neder not to benefit. And over there it says that basic Knesset, that everybody has a portion in the basic Knesset, and people ask themselves from benefiting from each other, so they're not allowed to go into the basic Knesset because they're not allowed to benefit from the portion that the other one has. Everyone, it's a basic necessity everybody pays for. Everybody has rights for. The joint basic necessities. And there are two people got into a fight and they said, I'm not going to benefit from you. Not from your house. I'm not going to benefit from you. That means anything that belongs to you, anything that belongs to you. So the basic necessities partly belongs to him. Reuven and Shimon got into a fight. Each one said, I'm not going to benefit from you. The both of them cannot go into the basic necessities anymore. Because Reuven's going into Shimon and Shimon's going into Reuven.
And that's considered not big enough to divide.
Right, because no one's gonna, they're not going to divide it.
Mhm.
Everyone, they can't divide it. It belongs to everybody, the whole city. They're not going to divide the basic necessities. They're not only them. They can't divide it. So you see that the Rabbanan say that it's also saying a question of base of Teresa Serego. Why do you, according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, it should be mutter? It'll say, you sit in your seat, you sit in your seat, and as you're going through the basic necessities, you're walking at that time, it belongs to you, and your partner doesn't have any rishus in it. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov would be mutter. The Rabbanan say that it's us. But here's the case of Ein Bakadei Chalukah. So
And everybody says, and this is a Mishnah or something.
it's a Mishnah, but it has to be somebody. Means Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov will not agree to this Mishnah because he holds that you are allowed to go in the basic necessities in the Shachas Sheshutvin. It has to be Rabbanan, but you see Rabbanan hold that it's us, even though it's Ein Bakadei Chalukah. So the way you said, Raziri, Rabbi Ziri said that if Ein Bakadei Chalukah, everyone knows that it's mutter, it can't be. The Mishnah won't be anybody. It has to be an author to the Mishnah. Of Yosef, Amar Ziri. So Yosef says Ziri must have said differently. Wait, Rabbi says to Rabbi that you misquoted Ziri. Ziri means the opposite. The opposite. Even Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov that said that it's mutter, he only relies on the svara when you have no choice because it's Ein Bakadei Chalukah. You can't divide it. So then he says you can rely on the svara that I'm going into mine, you're going into yours, and it's divided according to the time slots. But if it would be Kedei Chalukah, even Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov would be machmir and say divide it. Means the svara of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, he only relies on it when he needs to, if it's urgent, that or else they're going to have to sell out. They're not going to be able to divide it. But if they could divide it, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov also would say better to divide it and don't rely on the svara that I'm going into mine and you're going into yours.
And this machlokas we would just say is not like Rabbi Eliezer ben Baruch. We would say the Mishnah
The Mishnah basic necessities. Now it could be now
now cannot be.
now.
It says Asura, and then we could say it's just not like Rabbi Eliezer.
Right. But at least according to Rabbanan makes sense.
Yeah.
Good, very good. Thank you. The Gemara and Zof, Amar Rav Huna, Halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, V'chein Amar Rabbi Elazar, Halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. That's what we started off in the beginning. And this machlokas we do pass like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. The Gemara just finished saying that if it's Yesh Bakadei Chalukah, even Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov is not matir. But when it's Ein Bakadei Chalukah, like a basic knesset or a small chatzah, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says you could use this for that I'm going into mine, you're going into yours, and that's how we pass them. That's said at the beginning. They were a long run, but many Rishonim that bothered that this sounds like Yesh Breira, and we paskin by the rights that Ein Breira. So how do you reconcile this halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov with the halacha we paskin always for the rights Ein Breira? So we said he brings down like 3 pshatim, and he knocks down each one of them. That's the long one, the big on the first page where the whole Mishnah is only 3 lines. That whole page, the Ran is talking and explaining this kasha, that if you hold here, like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, Yesh Breira, how come the whole Shas, we hold the rights Ein Breira? So he said, brings everybody down and he argues with them, and he himself says something about this Breira is an easier Breira than other Breiras because they are divided l'chatchila in time. That I said, I don't know which time. You don't know which hour is going to be, which second is going to be yours, which second is going to be yours. So that's easier Breira, and we hold, even though it's the right, so also Yesh Breira.
Well, we only pass them like him, we pass them like Yosef sheet and zero.
Right.
So only if you have no other choice.
Right.
Only if you can't do both.
That even though Ben Yaakov was only matter where Ein Bakadei Chalukah, Yesh Bakadei Chalukah, so divide. I have written down over here interesting point. I'm not sure. I just had a little bit preparation, not too much, but they talk about this run in Hilchos Lulav. They're probably Rabbi Stefanski or the Rabbanim that they bring in Halacha L'Maisa. They're probably going to talk about this. Could you buy a lulav, esrog lulav? Could you buy esrog lulav b'shutfus? Has to be yours. The first day of Sukkot has to be yours.
Oh,
Can you buy b'shutfus? Is that called yours? You buy a esrog, it's expensive, whatever. You get a shutfus. So 2 partners they own the lulav. Is that good? When you're taking the lulav, it's half yours. It's only half yours.
according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, yes,
Why?
because when I'm using it.
Because you have this right. You have this thing, and if those the Raisa and the Raisa ain't Breira, but this kind of thing about time, the time slots. So then you do, and the same about Kedei Chalukah, because if you cut the lulav in half, You don't have a lulav. So same you'll be able to buy lulav b'shutfus.
Well, the way we do it anyway, one partner, you give it to the other partner.
Okay, you're giving it away. Okay, you gave it away. You gave it away. But this would be
Right,
mutter
if they didn't.
if they didn't do that. Everyone owns it. They used to do that in Europe, that they used to get
Right.
one set for the whole
For the whole
community,
town.
whole town. One for the rabbi, maybe, if they could afford it. And they should, somebody should hold the lulav the
But
whole
I
time.
always thought that they, like, it's mine now, now I give it to you.
It could be,
You claim
it could be they do that. But if they did a shutfest, that also would be, everyone paid money, for the membership, and the membership goes to buy a lulav for the community.
Oh, for the community.
And
but
now
if
everybody's
through the
restricted.
money, that automatically would be-
They gave money for the lulav fund, they maybe, I don't know how they
Uh-huh.
did it,
Yeah.
and they all bought a shutfest, and then you don't have to say, now it's mine, you don't have to say, I'm giving you a present, and
Because they all have. a
because everyone's a shutfest, and you could divide time. If it's able to chalukah. So I just wrote that there's an interesting thing about that they get it from here. And some say lachatchila not to do it because there are another 3 pshatim besides the Ran. Not everybody says this pshat in the Ran.
Uh-huh.
So down. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, a little bit more Gemara, not too much, a little bit more. It says in the Mishnah about if there's a merchos over there, that what happened? Shimon owns a merchos, a bed house, and Reuben is not allowed to benefit from Shimon. So that would be shol yasser. You can't go into Shimon's merchos.
The merchatz is owned by this one guy.
Right, but it's owned by Shimon, but he leased it out to Levi,
Mhm.
and now Reuben wants to use it, so he could. But if Shimon, the owner, has some kind of rights in the merchatz, so it's still called Shimon's, and Reuben wouldn't be allowed to use it.
We wanted
So they wanted to know, but kamat fisas yan. It says
How
if
much of a.
how much of a
authority-
hold on it does he have? That's considered a significant hold. Amar Rav Nachman, the Mechsel is Shishul Leviyah. Half, he owns half the merchatz, he owns a third, a quarter, something. But if he less than that, let's say low. If he owns less than a third, less than a quarter, I'm sorry, a half, a third, or a quarter.
What's
The Mechsel is Shishul
the
Leviyah.
butts here?
Batzir means less. Pachot. Aval bebatzir lo, less than a quarter, if the original, if the owner, Shimon, he only remains for himself less than a quarter of the merchatz, it's not called significant enough that it should answer Reuven, who's not allowed to benefit from him, to come into the merchatz. Shimon had a merchatz, and he leased it out to Levi, 3/4 of it,
Oh, he leased out
his merchatz
3/4 of it.
to Levi.
In other words, he's saying, we're gonna get income from this.
Okay,
I'm gonna get 25%, you're gonna take 75%.
I don't know.
I thought it had to do with
let-
like, I thought it meant Shimon had the right to say, it's only gonna be open from 8 in the morning. Or
okay,
the
I don't-
water can only be heated, so.
Right, he has a
or it
right.
can Only be heated for 2 hours.
His right in the management, he has what to
Yeah,
say, so
that's what I thought.
that will be, you have to learn out that halacha from whatever the Gemara says. The Gemara doesn't say that case,
Here
Keepers
they're
that means he has a hold in
renting.
it.
I didn't think renting meant,
He rented it out and he rented it out, that's what Mishnah says, he rented it out to Levi, he rented it out, but he still has a hold on it. So what's called a hold? I said the words means he has a hold on it. If Shimon still has a hold on it, so then Reuven can't come in because
well, clearly
Shimon
he's
is still
gonna get
here.
money for it.
What?
Renting means he's gonna get money,
Who gets money?
the guy who's renting it.
Surely Shimon gets money from Levi.
So now we're saying, how much does he get?
So I just said the words are that
Well,
he.
shlish or revi, what does
A
that mean?
messel shishul aviyah. If the Shimon still has half, a third, or a quarter, which will mean that he didn't rent out the whole thing. I think that's what it means. How do you want to say that? It means how much?
He didn't rent out the whole, I always thought it meant he rented out the whole thing. I see, he rented out part of it.
How do you want to say?
How do you rent out part of a
percentage?
How do you rent out a part?
Why can't he not?
Well, isn't a merchatz, let's what it has, the schwitz will be yours and the pool will be mine? What are you renting out?
Maybe time was.
Or there
Oh,
are-
you'll
there
get
are-
it, oh, you'll
there
get
are
it for
four-
2
there are four-
hours, I'll
there
get
are-
it for 4 hours.
Or there are 4 pools over there. What do you want to say? Messel shishul aviyah, you want to say that it means a percentage of how much of the income is he going to get? Maybe that's also a nice percent. The percent, how much percentage? Messel shishul aviyah means if he gets at least a quarter of the income, that the owner gets half the income. Maybe that's the way it goes. I didn't look into the Mepharshim enough. So you want to say the Messel shishul aviyah is another way of saying how much percentage is the rent. The rent is going to be you get half of the income, a third of the income, a quarter of the income. But if you still
Let's say
get,
he's
you only
gonna
get,
get half the income, then he's gonna have to be there doing something for it.
he owns it. No, he owns it. Always just like
The
that.
Ran-
Yeah,
the
the
Ran
sharekeeper.
says- The Ran says, for the Baal Merchot's mistaker, Kafim Masha, Merchot's Mavia, I really could be there.
Where are you living? Just to find the place.
Like, we're gonna get the Gemara.
כמה תפיסת ידם רב נחמן אומר שיש לו אביה דחיבן דבעל המרחץ מסתכר כפי מה שהמרחץ מביא חבל כדידי. Since he gets any percentage, אבל בציר, what is בציר? Oh, he has the בגרסה. אבל בביצים מותר. He has the בגרסה. He doesn't talk about, he says ביצים, something with eggs over there. He has the דארקן הויה שהבל מרחץ מסתכר בביצים שהבום לרחוץ שם, how you look him also ממנו. A different shot. That if he gets a percentage, doesn't mean that any kind of percentage. Any kind of percentage, that's called that, any kind of percentage, if the
owner.
lease, if the rent is a percentage of the income, any percentage of the income. If the rent is a percentage of the income, so then it's called that the balabais is still here. You're also getting from the balabais. It's not that you're only getting from the one who leased it. How do you call-
Because
how do
when
you
you
call
pay,
it?
you're paying the balabait too.
Right, right.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think he's gonna learn that it means less than, if they made it up, I'll get a fifth. That the original owner owns the fifth. I don't think he's gonna say that. He says the Beitza means that he has a right. The Baal Merchotz used to sell eggs. They went to the Schwitz and on the way out, they bought eggs. That was the culture. So that was the right. He had, what do you call that? Not a commission? What is it? Somebody who has a right to sell something in the hospital. What do they call that? He has a similar
Like
stand.
commission maybe. or
Commission is
something.
called, there's a word for it.
Concession.
Concession. So if he has a concession on the eggs, that the owner, he has the right to sell the eggs. That the Shimon who owns the Merchotz,
You run the
I
Merchotz,
I have the concession. So that's not considered enough. That's not considered you have a handle on the Merchotz. That's the
I
run,
see.
that's the run's gears. We don't have the gears. We have the gears of the Butzer, not the Beitzim. The
Okay.
Butzer means less.
So I see, so you're
What
saying
does
it has,
Butzi mean?
Less. Butzer means less than a quarter. So does anybody say shot in this gear? So here's the rush on the bottom. The rest of the shish via shamaskim mekabel shlish harebach. Nein l'safekim heis chalakim. The reshusa hu mekabel v'asa. Aval the butzer pirish v'poches mutter. That's what he seems to say. He seems to say that if even though you're getting a percentage, the owner is getting a percentage of the income of the merchotz, but if it's less than a quarter, that's not significant enough.
I would think anything less than rove. If somebody's paying and they know that most of the money is going to that other guy, so I'm not really giving them a shimon.
Even if it's less than row, even if it's less than row, but Shimon is getting a third of the income. When you pay $3,
He gets
one of those dollars is going to him. But then I don't understand if you're paying
Quarter is
if
the
you
quarter
quarter,
also.
how about if you pay a fifth and it costs $5 to go to the Merchotz and $1 the fifth? Why is that not significant? I don't know. That's what it seems. According to this guess, that's what it seems to say. I didn't see the whole run, but he seems maybe he's going to be the other guess also. But according to the guess, I think that if the percentage of the owner is to get up till a quarter, it's still considered significant. But less than that is not considered significant, and you'd be allowed to go into the Merchotz, even though the Shimon is getting a fifth of the income. Abai Omar, Afilu b'Botzer Asa. Abai says no, that's also Asa. Hechi Dami the Shori the Makabel Bataska. So I think the Mepharshim say that it's only any kind of percentage. If the owner gets any kind of a percentage, then you're not allowed to go in because he's getting a percentage of what you're paying. But if Levi pays the Shimon a set price, he sets the set price of how much he rent is, no matter how much income I make. Like, that's a regular case.
So there's no chance to say on them.
So then, right, that means that the one who comes in, the customer that comes in, he's not affecting. Now in no way is he benefiting from the owner. The owner doesn't get any of my money. My money goes all to Levi. Levi has to pay Shimon. That's his business. I think that would be a simple shot.
But so then how does a buyer answer the last question?
What's the question?
He dumb and sorry.
So when is no, he's explaining that even less is any kind of percentage is also when is a mutter when it's no percentage. The makabel bataska.
I don't know.
When
What's
I don't even know, but the idea they say is that it's a set price. It's a set price that Levi's paying Shimon. How do you say the lessee, the one who leases? How do you say?
The
it?
owner.
The owner and okay, we'll say the owner and the renter. I think Yemen has the lessee and there's a word for it. So if the renter is paying a set price for the rent. So Shimon's out of the picture. Shimon gets his rent every month, no matter what Levi does with it.
No matter how many people. come
No
to the house.
percentage.
Right, nobody came in, he also has to pay his rent, everybody, and he got more than, doesn't make a difference. That's, so then if the owner is only getting a set amount of rent, so then it's not called that moving that comes into this merchos is benefiting, giving
It's
any
all
benefit from
Levi,
Shimon.
yeah.
It's all Levi's, more or less. If any changes, we'll try to come back tomorrow with any changes. Yashikor, everybody, thank you.
Sure.
So Abaya makes sense to me, but the first one doesn't.
That less than a quarter
Yeah.
is not, according to the Ron's guess, you'd be happy that any
Yeah,
kind of percentage is also, but
Get
Bateson,
the concession. Yeah.
concession, okay.
Or what do you
Yes,
call it?
God.
Concession motion?
Yeah.